Hello and welcome to the Ambtrans training video. In this video session, I'm going to teach you how to enter a new trip. First thing you do, you log in with your username and password. Then you click on trip. Now you got to choose the client for which you want to enter a trip. So for our case, we're going to choose Harry Potter. We click on the plus sign for new. So the first choice we have to make is whether it's a round trip or a one-way. So for our case, we're going to choose a round trip. Now the insurance name field, it gets filled in automatically. It's basically the default insurance for this client. It's derived from the client button, from the client screen, which I've talked in the previous session about. Now a user has a choice either to keep that default insurance or we can change it to a different insurance. Now this list, the insurance list, comes from file setup, which I've talked in the video session number 1. So for our case, we're going to choose, we're going to choose preferred care. Now preferred care has just one service, so therefore this is the only one that's in the field. But other insurances can have multiple services like taxi, ambulatory, wheelchair, meaning different types of services for which they pay and different prices. All these service names are entered in the file and setup menu, which I've talked in the video session number 1. So next thing we do is we choose the date for the trip. The pickup time. The pickup time is basically the time at which time the driver has to be at the door of the patient to pick him up. So I'm going to choose the time. Now the appointment time is the time when the patient has to be at the appointment, whether it's a doctor's appointment or something else. So this gets filled in automatically 45 minutes later. However, a user can change it to, let's say, an hour and 45 minutes later. Now this little checkbox which you see over here specifies whether this trip is going to be an estimated time or an exact, meaning if we're going to choose it as an estimated, that means that the client has to actually call the office and confirm that he's ready for pickup. This is usually done on the return rides, because when the patient is not exactly sure when he's going to be done with his doctor's appointment. So as soon as you click this box, that means that the pickup time is an estimated time, and the dispatcher will know not to send the car until the patient actually calls in. So now these 5 fields over here are different services for this specific trip. So meaning that different type of charges that your company is going to charge. So for example, the companion fields is how many people are traveling with the client, and based on what you've entered in the file setup for this specific insurance name and this specific service name, this is how much the program is going to charge for the 2 extra companions. Extra man means that how many people are required to do that trip. So for example, if it's a heavy person or he lives 3 floors up, then you would choose how many drivers are required for this trip. Wait time. Wait time is the amount of minutes the driver had to wait for the client to actually come out of the door. This is usually done after the trip has been completed. A user can come back and enter the amount of minutes, and therefore this trip is going to be charged based on that. So for example, 10 minutes here. The number of stairs. The number of stairs is if your company charges specifically each step. So for example, if the client has, let's say, 10 steps in his staircase and you want to charge for that, you choose that here. Miles. The miles field is, it speaks for itself, as for long distance trips. If you want to charge mileage, you enter the amount of miles for that trip. Trip category is just a basic category which you're going to be able to use later doing reports. So you can filter and sort different trips. So you can either leave it as blank, you don't have to fill this field, or you can, in our case, we're gonna choose wheelchair since this is a wheelchair service. Now these fields over here are from and to addresses. There are several options. We can either click on the home checkbox and it's gonna automatically fill in the home address of this client derived from the client field, or another option is we can choose the address from here, from the list. This list is derived from file setup, again, which I've talked in video session number 1. Let's say the client is not coming from home, if it's a one-way, let's say. Or what we can also do, we can just click on there and start typing, and it's gonna find the address in the list. Then we click on the arrow again, it's gonna fill in this address. Or another option is to just, if it's a one-time address, we can just enter it here. Let's say it's a doctor's office. Just like that. For our case, we're going to choose home. Now this is the to address. Same thing here. You can either choose, you can either type. So we're going to choose one of the different addresses. Now the Google button is, what it does is basically, as soon as you click on it, it brings Google Maps with these addresses filled in for directions. And it comes helpful in sometimes figuring out the mileage. So for example, you're not sure exactly how many miles are going to be from this location to this location. You can click on the Google Maps and it shows you mileage, it shows you the direction, everything that the Google Maps does. Now the dispatch status is a field where shows the status of this specific trip. Obviously, since we're doing a new trip, it's going to be left as open until the dispatcher actually dispatches the trip in the dispatch screen, and it's gonna be either sent, then picked up, and done. It's gonna all be done in the dispatch screen. When this comes in handy is when you're doing a post-factum trip. So for example, let's say you did the trip but you never set it up on the computer on your in your software. So in that case, you can come back here and enter the trip and mark it as done. Same thing with the billing status. For our case, we're going to choose not billed, but if this is a trip that has been paid for or billed, we can choose another option here. The VIP button is what specifies whether this is a very important trip to alert the dispatcher. So if this field is defaulted from the client, so this particular client is not marked as VIP. However, a user can change that just for this trip. So for example, let's say we've been late for this client many times and we would like to mark this specific trip as a VIP so that the dispatcher knows to be there on time, maybe to send specific drivers. And so that's what we're going to mark here. As soon as we're done, we're going to click on the Save button. Now, what this brings is the return ride information. So here, same thing as we did in this checkbox over here. We're going to choose whether this is going to be an exact time or an estimated. So if we're going to choose, since this is a return ride, we're going to choose require confirmation. So that means that the dispatcher is going to know that this time is not actual, it's just an estimated time, and that the client actually needs to call in and confirm that he's ready. So I click OK, and our trips appeared over here on the bottom. Now these are all the trips for Harry Potter, and this list can be sorted any way you'd like, or filtered. So for example, I want to see only the trips that have taxi as a service. So in that case, I click on this little box on the right hand corner of the column. I choose taxi, and this is where it's at. To remove the list, to remove the filter, I'm gonna simply click on this little X box on the bottom. Now this list can be either exported or printed if you want to do some mailing or just for reports. You click on File, Print and Export, and here you can decide which format you want to export it to, like an Excel file, a PDF, or a CSV, or you can simply click on File and Print, and then you're going to choose a printer to print it to. And that's pretty much it for the trip screen. Thank you for watching.